Well, I wish I had a great story and a cool video about how I overcame all sorts of obstacles and got this thing running and wrestled it all the way home, and all kinds of mechanical prowess and tricks to get it to run right. But you know what? There was nothing, okay? Right after we finished shooting that video, I met with the guy. I gave him the money. He gave me the keys, title, and a pair of taillights. And I drove it home. I just turned the key, it started up, and I drove it home. Motor runs fine. Transmission is good. Rear end is good. Brakes are good. Steering is good. Everything is good. The car just drive anywhere right now. So yeah, kind of uneventful, but a really solid, good running car. So in the last video, we had you guys guess at the price. What is this thing worth? Well, what did we pay for it? And a lot of you, as usual, like, I wouldn't give you $200 for that car. And then the other end of the spectrum, it's worth 10 grand all day long. Well, we paid $3,500, which in my mind, now think about this for a second, right? Let's put this in perspective. It's 2024. You have $3,500 and you need a car that runs to get you to and from work, let's just say, okay? You go to a used car dealer, you go to a used car lot. What are you buying for $3,500 that you're gonna drive off the lot? Yeah, like a 92 Civic, right? A Kia of some sort. What are you gonna get for $3,500? Well, in our case, we have a classic A-body Mopar. Not the prettiest thing that ever existed. I mean, listen, early Barracudas are an acquired taste. Took me a long time before I actually came around and started appreciating these cars. But nevertheless, it's a 60-year-old car that runs, drives, stops, steers, does everything a car is supposed to do. $3,500. And then, of course, there are the arguments about, you know, what is the value of different things on the car? Like, how do you determine the value of a car? And I actually got into a thing with somebody on our Sunday Night Live about that, where I says, listen, you don't understand the value of this car, $3,500, even if it didn't run at all. The parts value on this car. I'll give you one quick example. I'm going to show you one quick example. Aside from the $200 worth of taillights, this prop rod, all day long on eBay will sell for $150. This is a rare piece. Like, they just don't grow on trees. This is one of the few cars that I've come across that actually has this thing still intact and functional. It works exactly as it's supposed to. Well, almost exactly as it's supposed to. That's close enough. That's $150 all day long. Yeah, there's no hydraulics in there, it's just a spring. Old school, right? It'll last forever. It gets a little weak, shim up the spring a little bit. So, I'm trying to get the light good. So, the motor runs fantastic. It was a little off when we first got it running, a little bit, you know, a little shaky. I needed some fine tuning, some adjusting, so I did that. And I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, $3,500. Now, what are our plans with this car? See, okay, this is important. I have no profound plans with this car. I'm not building any more cars. We've built several cars on this channel, and from this point forward, I just want to tinker and tune and maybe do an engine or two. But the days of doing full-blown projects, no, I'm done with that. I just want to have fun, okay? And that's what we're doing with these cars. We're just going to go out and have fun. Actually, this Friday night, we're taking Mission Improbable back out to the track to make some laps. So if you're going to follow this expecting for there to be some sort of like amazing, profound transformation or anything like that, this is the wrong deal. We're going to slowly evolve this car into something that anybody would be happy to drive anywhere. It's not going to be a showstopper. It's not going to be a restoration. It's not going to be anything except a cool old daily driver, which is the kind of stuff that what I can gather from what I see and the feedback I get from the viewers, that's really what you guys want. Oh, that's why we picked this thing up. So what we're going to do is, as we go along with this car, we're going to prioritize what needs to be done first, right? Just to get it completely roadworthy and solid. And it is solid. The frame rails, all of the important parts are solid. It has some cosmetic rust and some rust in the cowl. Not a big deal. And floor pans. We got to put floor pans in it. But nothing profound, just an evolution as we go along with this car, and we'll cover each of the steps as we go through them. But that's the whole thing with this car. We're not doing a restoration on it. We'll leave that to the next owner, somewhere down the line. Right now, we just want to make it fun, cool, turn a key, go anywhere, use it for anything, not be freaked out if somebody leans on it or sits on the hood, or if a bird poops on it, and it's like, you know, I don't care. There you go. Cool old daily driver. I'm sure the vast majority of you guys get that. So here's what we're going to do with this car. I'm going to start like this. There's an old saying. This goes way back, okay, to before everybody dressed like slobs, like me, okay. In the days before everybody dressed like slobs, there was a saying, okay, and I said, if your shoes are shined and your hair is combed, nobody cares what's in between. So basically, you can be dressed in rags, right? But as long as it shows that you care enough to comb your hair and shine your shoes, people will overlook what's in the middle. And it's true, it's accurate. And the same thing holds true for cars. As long as a car looks like it's being taken care of, it looks like it's being worked on, and it's being loved, then people will overlook the issues around it. If you go back to the day when these things were common, like used cars, and in this general condition, like in the late 70s, the early 80s, the most common thing you'd see with these cars, yeah, everybody paid attention to the beautiful paint jobs and all the other stuff, but the vast majority of cars that were out there that people were working on and having fun with, they all had primer spots and red lead and stuff like that. And the chrome, whatever chrome, like wheels on the car, whatever chrome was on the car, was all polished and shiny. But the point is, it showed that it was being loved. It showed that it was being cared for and brought along. And that was the permanent state of a lot of cars. They were just always going through that subtle evolution. Because really, most guys don't have that much time to devote to their cars. A couple of hours on the weekend is about it. And you can't do a complete bumper-to-bumper, you know, restoration in a couple of hours on a weekend. It doesn't work that way. So every week you pick a project. I'm going to fix this piece of rust. I'm going to straighten out that dent. I'm going to change that intake manifold, whatever it happens to be. And every weekend, or you know, the time that you had, you'd spend a couple hours, complete the task, and then continue using the car. That's what we're doing with this thing. So like I said, nothing profound. Now, if you do want something profound with a 65 Barracuda, a white 65 Barracuda, Jamie over at Dead Dodger Garage is building a 1965 Barracuda 273 4-speed drag car. So if this isn't exciting enough for you, go over there to his channel and check out his project. So our first step with this car is just to discuss it. I get rid of the things that are on it. Like for instance, well, the car's filthy, obviously, so we gotta clean it. Get rid of all of this lettering, these cracked and whatnot stickers. Got to get some trim rings on these wheels. I'm not a big fan of rally wheels on pre-70 Mopars. You know, they just don't fit. But you know what? That's a really common addition that I see a lot of guys do, and I don't really hate it. So we're going to keep the rallies on there. We'll throw some trim rings on it. We got to paint them. Any suggestions for paint color on the rims? I'll leave it up to you guys, but they're going to stay on there. And the tires are literally brand new. So yeah, we're going to descuzz the car, get it as clean as possible, given what's here, polish up whatever there is to polish. Kind of get rid of stuff like this, you know. Yeah, that, okay, right, we got to get rid of that. And that wasn't planned, I swear to God, that wasn't planned. We got to get rid of the cheap plastic, you know, side V mirrors. I want to find one of the original early twin post ones for the driver's side. It doesn't need one on the passenger side. I swear to God, I didn't plan that. So, that's the plan for the outside of the car. Nothing radical yet. I think eventually, once I've got enough of the metal work done, we'll probably just prime the thing and run it around like that. Under the hood, so priority. So we know that it stops, it steers, the transmission goes, nothing leaks. It's been running here, now it's about 90 degrees right now, and it's been running here for at least 20 minutes. And yeah, it's fine. We've got no leaks. Well, we got a little seepage right there, but that's okay. The motor is sound. It's a mid 1970s, early to mid 1970s 318. You can tell by the EGR valve. And the choke is still closed here because it has one of these. This choke stove is supposed to have an electronic assist. That's what this is from. So we'll get rid of that and we'll put a proper choke on here, you know, without the assist, and it'll work. So, but the motor is fully warmed up right now and she runs great. The carburetor is this is one of those cheap Chinese knockoff BBDs. Everything I can determine with this carburetor so far, just by running it around a little bit and idling it and making adjustments, is that this thing really feels good. Like no complaints so far with this. The only thing that I find it's different or interesting about this carburetor is typically a mixture adjustment on a factory Carter BBD. The mixture adjustment starts about 1.5 to 2 turns out. And this one's got to go about 3 turns before it'll actually start to idle. And it's between 3 and 4 turns out on each side before it's smooth. And that's where it is right now. When I picked it up, it was like a little jumpy. The idle mixture was weird. There's no vacuum leaks or anything like that. And I double checked and triple checked and quadruple checked. And yeah, it's just that the mixture adjustment screws have a different pitch than the factory ones. But other than that, this thing seems really good. And I think they're only like $89 or $90, whatever it is, on Amazon. So no complaints there. I can't think of anything I want to do to this engine other than just clean it up and make everything as functional as possible. So the car's got a brand new exhaust system on it all the way back. Whoever put this together installed it with those exhaust manifold gaskets, the silver ones, and for some reason they doubled them up. I don't know why. That's double jeopardy, because first off, it's not supposed to have any at all. These exhaust manifolds are designed to be bolted directly to the cylinder head. Then they have conical washers that allow it to move around a little bit. So those things are never long for this world. And I think one of them actually has a little bit of a leak. When you rev the motor up, you can hear some popping on decel, which means that it's pulling air through a gap there. So I got to unbolt those exhaust manifolds, pull those gaskets out, bolt it all back together again. Only thing to do there. The plugs, it's got brand new plugs on it. It's got old wires. Now, these covers are about shot. They're rusty, but I like the way it looks. So I think I'm going to find a nice set of cheap chrome valve covers for it. But that leaves one little issue with this, and that's that the stock valve covers on these engines that are used with this exhaust manifold have wire loom holders. There's 2 here and 2 here. Okay, so the wires come around and it keeps them from leaning up against this manifold the way these are. These will burn pretty quickly. So I'd like to, like I said, I'm going to pick up just a cheap set of nice chrome valve covers for it, and I'll give the engine a quick spray bomb just to clean it up under here a little bit. So what I'm going to do is the plug wires, late 1960s, actually a pre-HEI big block Chevy plug wires, 7mm factory plug wires, have a 45-degree bend at the boot, and they work perfectly with these exhaust manifolds. So all of your V8 A bodies have this style exhaust manifold because it has to clear the steering column over here. That's why it comes up on this side and it doesn't come up on the other side. It has nothing to do with performance, just clearance. So I'll pick up a set of those Chevy 45-degree boot plug wires. I've used them in the past. They're the perfect length for this too. So I'll use those, and that'll clean that up. I need a voltage regulator for it. Usually I've got these on the shelf, but I used the last of them up. So I ordered a couple. They should be here today. So I'll get the voltage regulator on here. The alternator appears to be charging. I jumped out the field and it dragged the motor down, so the alternator, I believe, is okay, but you know, it is what it is. And yes, other than that, just detailing stuff up. The it has a like a 70s 318 air cleaner in the back, but I'm going to try to get the unsilenced small diameter one that came factory with the 273 2-barrel. It looks exactly like the 4-barrel one, except that it's a 2-barrel base. So I got a buddy of mine looking for that right now. That's the one I want to put on there. Other than that, I mean, there's like no leaks, no nothing. It drives really solid. I think we got to put a heater core in here. It looks to me, I don't think the heater core was leaking. It looks to me like at some point somebody ripped the motor out of this, so they just chopped right through the hoses. But I'll check. There's dropping the heater box out of these is nothing. It's like a 20-minute job. So if I've got to change the heater core, I will. But I don't think I'm going to have to. I bet you we'll check it, and the heater core will be all right. It's just, this looks like a typical, like, just backyard, hack this thing apart to pull the motor out. So, but other than that, she's all here. She's all here. So that's the tentative plan with the car. Nothing spectacular, nothing revolutionary, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing exotic, right? And like absolutely no desire to incorporate any of those things into this car. Just a cool, old, daily driver type of car that's like completely average and attainable by anybody who has an interest in doing this sort of thing. And we'll go along as we go along. All right, so that's it, guys. In the meantime, Mission Improbable. I'm gonna drop the gas tank out of it before we run it on Friday, because it seems like it's clogging the filter. I checked the filter on it, and when I pulled the line off, and rust came out. So I was like, okay, I gotta pull this tank out. So I'm gonna do that today and get that ready to go for Friday night. And that's about it. And I'm back on the Belvedere too. All right, and tomorrow I'm gonna show you something that I accidentally bought when I went to pick this thing up. It's weird. I'll see you tomorrow.